one of those shows where I've done a lot of preparation. I know you've done a ton of it, and I'm still not sure if I've got everything ready on the technical end yet.
Well, like we said, we are amateur citizen journalists. We're not
Yeah.
professionals. So
No.
I think that means we can make mistakes. We can screw up.
Hey, yeah. Oh, wow. I actually got a notification from YouTube that we're live. So I got my Facebook notification and my YouTube notification. Speaking of those, so I want to let everybody know on this show, and I'm going to post something before too long, but we're going to have to announce our closing. Did you know that?
Our closing.
Yes, we're shutting down.
Well, you know
That's it.
what?
That's it.
I
We're
could
done.
I could use a vacation.
Yeah. No, seriously. What we're going to do, folks, for those of you that are joining in while we're kind of doing our little initial few minutes of rambling, we're going to shut down the Louisiana Watch side, in our identity crisis, because the truth is that one just hadn't taken off as much and we hadn't focused that much time on it. And it only and we appreciate everybody that's watching from the Louisiana Watch side, but it only brings us in a couple of viewers. And so I'm going to put a post up and encourage everybody to join and follow Bossier Watch and blah, blah, blah. And hopefully that'll get rid of our little identity crisis that we've had for a year now.
Hey, hot off the presses, breaking news. Herschel Walker is projected to be the winner, of the Senate primary over there
Mm-hmm.
until in the morning when they get, all the mules bringing the rest of the ballots in.
Hmm.
Just just
So
wanted to let you know.
if it took 2,000, or at least 2,000 nationally, I wonder how much it'll take for that race. Not as many mules, right?
No, 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 no. See, that's where you're wrong. You're putting bad information out there. You're going to get us banned off of Facebook here. There
Oh,
were
yeah.
more than 2,000 mules. At my understanding is there was 2,000 mules that made 50 or more trips to drop boxes while at the same time visiting at least 5 nonprofit organizations,
Really?
because those 2,000 mules all had family members working at those 5 different nonprofits, and they had a total of about 50 family members. So it had been 49 family
Mm-hmm.
members between 5 nonprofit places for them to take their ballots to the drop boxes.
And you know what's
That,
amazing is
I
our
mean, that
get
makes sense, right?
yeah, but our guest just signed in right in the middle of talking about the mules, and he's still in the guest room and green room, so he's probably sitting there going, "What have I got myself into with this show?"
Yeah, these freaking guys. Tell me about it. He really probably doesn't want to talk about Elon Musk and the fertility rate cut.
Yeah, we got all kinds of topics to talk about. Okay, so let's figure out. I'm going to go ahead and switch screens, and let me bring Congressman Clay Higgins in. Let's make sure we can kind of get the tech stuff out of the way, folks. We're doing this on the fly. It's a live show, so let me go ahead and do that. Just a second
well,
here. So go ahead, Duke.
well, I was going to say let's bring Clay in, Congressman Clay, Captain Clay. I prefer to call him Captain Clay because I respect him more as Captain Clay than I do as Congressman Clay. But let's bring him in. Hello, Congressman.
How you doing, fellas? Listen, I'm not sure how my audio is. It's difficult to tell from my device here.
Sounds pretty good, and the video is pretty good. A little bit of lag, but that's okay. The audio does sound great, so we can deal with a little bit of lag. It's technology and the internet and all that. So glad to have you on. Glad you're able to join us.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here. I'm glad it worked out. I've been rolling all day from meeting to meeting, and I have barely managed to be able to sit here and get my computer to function to join you gentlemen. So I'm happy to be here, though.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do, Duke. Instead of doing our countdown tonight, which Congressman, we normally do a 3 or 4 minute countdown, lets people join in and all that. We've been online now for, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes anyway. Why don't we just go into it? We'll skip the countdown for tonight. What do you
Jump
think?
in, brother. I'm
Sounds
ready.
well, Captain Clay. I mean, I got to tell you, it's been a while since I seen you. In fact, you weren't even a congressman at that time, and down at the state central committee meeting, I think you were you were weighing whether to become a politician at that point. And man, did you become one and become one in a big way. And how's it been?
Well, when we pursue the illuminated path that the Lord has prepared for us, it's wrought with challenge, shall we say, and yet in incredible reward. It's been 6 years of congressional service for my myself and my family. We have navigated through the complexities and the the bizarre realm of Washington D.C. now for 6 years. And when you and I first met, and I was just coming off the heels of my law enforcement career, and I was considering whether or not it could be real that what appeared to be the fact to my wife and I that the Lord wanted me to serve my nation congressionally. This is not something that we had anticipated or planned for. It just became manifest on my journey in life. So I embraced it, and we won despite the incredible odds stacked against us. And I've been reelected twice since 2016. I'm about to be reelected again. So whether the establishment guys in Washington, D.C. on both sides of the aisle like it or not, Clay Higgins coming back to Congress for a fourth term.
I was reading some statistics earlier, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've actually gained percentage each time you've been reelected. So it's like you're gaining popularity.
We have won by an increasingly significant margin, shall we say. That's very humbling for me as a man, but it is true. So although it's not a flag I wave around, it's not that a gentleman don't brag like that, but that is true, good sir. Yes, the last time we won with I think 68, 69% of the vote. We do have, just as a technical note, we have thunderstorms rolling through Lafayette right now that may interfere with our signal. I'm not sure if it does. I very much apologize.
Oh, that's okay. If it happens to knock you out and you're able to come back in, just use the same link. If not, we got a call-in number, or we appreciate whatever time we get to spend with you and talk. So however it works out.
Yes, sir. And regarding topics, let me say I'll answer any questions that are presented to me, and I'll answer candidly and unscripted. That's my nature. And before we begin answering questions, let me just express my gratitude to you two gentlemen, doing your best to bring an honest perspective of Patriot America to the air on a regular basis. And I'm happy I've been able to join you.
Well, thank you. I mean, we appreciate it. And like I said in the beginning, you know, I don't know if it's my opinion. Captain Clay, I don't know exactly what you prefer. Thinking I know you the way I know you, I think you probably you think being called Captain Clay probably is more respectful in Congress, because to me, a law enforcement guy having to go to the heart of I mean the land of the beast up there, which is the swamp. I mean, it's got to kill your soul. I mean, to because you your background, you're able to just go after it. Up there, you got some limitations. You can't just go straight forward for it like you would like. Is that right? Is that what you've
Yeah,
experienced?
you have identified an interesting fact. I'm an Army veteran, and in the Army, we were trained to identify the bad guy and shoot him. You know, and then as a cop, you train to identify the suspect and harvest your evidence and put together your probable cause, and if you have solid and legal and righteous probable cause, then you have grounds for arrest, and you make the arrest. And it was very clear, like in the history of my life, things were much more black and white than they are now. Because in D.C., it's easy to identify the bad guy, but you have to ride on the elevator with them. And you asked about titles, and people call me. It's very common. Folks call me Cap because that's how I'm known. And a lot of youngsters that have grown up now, and some have kids of their own, and call me Uncle Clay. I was known as Uncle Clay throughout the community that I served in law enforcement for a long time, mostly by youngsters that, again, they've grown. They have youngsters of their own now, and they all call me Uncle Clay. But to be called congressman, there was a time in our nation when that was indeed a title of great honor. It's not the founders' fault. It's not historically. It's not our nation's fault that D.C. has become the realm that it is right now, and it's heavily populated by absolute enemies of the republic. So, the title of Congress should be an honorable title, and any American man or woman uh, would rightfully feel honored to be called a congressman in this great nation that we love. It's our duty to help restore that luster, that level of honor and respect to our nation's capital, wherein men and women should serve at the behest of the citizenry of America, as opposed to posturing themselves as rulers and oppressors, which has literally become the case. So guys like me and members of the Freedom Caucus, the most conservative amongst us in the House of Representatives, we hope to be worthy of the title congressman, and we're very aware of the environment that we serve within and the challenges that we face to restore the respect to our nation's capital and the nature of the constitutionalist congressional servant that our founders envisioned. So I appreciate you pointing that out, but you can pretty much call me anything you like, and I've been called some real bad stuff through the years, so I will respond politely.
Well, you bring up a very interesting point, and I think a lot of us out here feel it as well as a lot of the people that are watching, and watch our show and a lot of the other live shows that are out there and mainstream shows too. But I got to ask, and I try not to be a pessimist, but is Washington, D.C., and I'm talking specifically about Congress and the bureaucracy, I mean, is it too far gone? Is there any fixing that? I mean, we got 4 zillion laws, and my contention is that, laws pretty much only take things away. Every now and then we may get one that'll restore something that was taken away, but we got so many laws on the books and so much bureaucracy. I mean, how in the heck do we fix that? How do you guys in the Freedom Caucus and people that think and believe like we do, how do we fix that?
Gradually and driven by faith. Brother, I I, I love America, and I love what we have been. I love what we can be, and I'm faced with the unique opportunity to try and make a difference right now, so that our grandchildren and our great grandchildren have a chance to inherit the beautiful nation that our generation did indeed inherit. We've let this thing slide in our generation. I'll be 61 this year, and um, interestingly, I was born in 1961, and I'll be 61 this year, and we're at a very significant turning point in Americans. Whether or not we're going to be worthy of the anointing that we were blessed with when America was born, that becomes the great question of our era. Like, can we fix this thing? And I believe that if we have deep enough faith and courageous enough resolve to address the kind of issues that most politicians will not touch, but I will, because let me just clarify, I don't really like politicians, and I don't trust the government. So yeah, I found myself in a very unique position in the course of my life, and yeah, I'm a passionate and loving man, but I'm also very disciplined, and I have skills. So I intend to use the gifts that the Lord has given me to face down the threat that we find confronting America from within. Because our most significant threat that the future generations yet unborn of America would count on us to fix right now. Uh, That's threat born from within the very heart of our own nation. We have communists in Congress. That's a cold, hard reality that we have to face. We have a southern border that is disintegrated. We have no more national sovereignty. We're losing our country down there. We have debt, $31 trillion in debt. That's almost insurmountable. Is it only by fast and courageous action over the next 2 or 3 Congresses can we possibly hope to restore fiscal order and stability and begin to grow our way out of a $31 trillion debt. It's literally a crippling debt for future generations. I mean, these youngsters today should be the ones, they should be making the most noise. And yet they're quite passive about our debt. They're the ones inheriting that debt, man. It's insane where we are right now as a nation, anointed and beautiful and deep and powerful and strong and compassionate and and all the things that our founders envisioned is true, but all the things our founders feared, it has also been made manifest. How did they just these oppressors that are in D.C. now and scattered across our country, working deep within the bureaucracies that have incredible influence and power over the citizenry? Did they just, we didn't blink them into existence, man. These we have allowed this thing. Our generation, you and I, gentlemen, we've allowed this thing to happen because we're conservative and we didn't want to, cause a fuss. This thing was happening just incrementally during the course of our life. And now we find ourselves, holy crap, we're about to lose our country. And we have to try and fix this thing within the parameters of the Constitution. We don't want to meet at the bridge with our muskets. The founders had to do that. But the founders gave us weapons that they did not have. That's our Constitution. So we have to work diligently and focused and passionately within the framework of Articles 1, 2, and 3. And we have to push the edges of this thing very hard until we have restored the republic that was bequeathed unto us as a people, so that we'll be worthy of what it is to be an American and pass this thing on to the next generation. I just shared a lot more than I thought I would tonight, but it all came from my heart.
Well, that's what we liked about you, and we followed you along quite a bit. And you don't always go along with the flow. You speak up and say what you believe, and I think that is what makes you a good congressman, because what you believe is what's in the heart and soul of everybody out here in the state. And I want to shift just a little bit to your district, and we're basically North Louisiana boys. We're Yankees of Louisiana, right? And so somebody said,
Yes, sir.
well,
North of
Clay,
I-10.
Right.
yeah, Clay Higgins, he's a South Louisiana boy. What on earth would he want to talk to anybody from North Louisiana? Well, the reality is a lot of folks, have been displaced from South Louisiana. They moved north, and there's a lot of family up here. We get folks that ask us questions about the Gulf Coast and your district in particular. In recent years, y'all have had some tough goes of it. Y'all been hit pretty hard, and you know, again, us following you, we've noticed that you've been a really strong advocate for your district and hurricane recovery. And you know, talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, we know a little bit, but I don't know that everybody up here maybe knows kind of a lot of the things you've done. We've seen you trying to get things in the most recent budget bills. You know, talk about that a little bit for us.
Yes, sir. Well, I'll go to the end first, and then we'll step back to the beginning in respect to everyone's time. But my office has worked very hard to deliver recovery funding to the people of Southwest Louisiana. We suffered a brutal hurricane season a couple of years ago, man, and I've never seen anything like it. I mean, the Hurricane Laura hit so hard, so fast. I've lived through many storms as a South Louisiana resident, but all my life, and we'll step back to that in a minute. But we have delivered almost $3.2 billion. 3.2 billion. That's 3,200 million of federal funding, all American treasure, that's been appropriated by the compassionate heart of the people of America to help South Louisiana stand back up after intense and incredibly damaging, just merciless hurricanes. So all that money has been delivered from the federal treasury to the state treasury to be dispersed through the state bureaucracies. And the big problem, which we can address momentarily if you like, the big problem once again is the bureaucracy. The greatest challenge that citizens of South Louisiana face right now is that the storms come and go, but good Lord, the bureaucracies run on forever. You can't navigate through them. Regular folks and businesses and men and women that have paid taxes all their life and found themselves just knocked down on their ass after an incredibly damaging hurricane, and find themselves recipient to the compassion and love of their fellow citizens that have supported recovery funding and long-term funding, and then guys like me battled with the assistance of my colleagues that stood with us in Congress to get funding pushed through. And now that money is just stuck, man, most of it just stuck in bureaucracies at the federal and the state level. And the whole system is broken. I'd like to change the whole paradigm about how relief funding is actually delivered to the American citizenry and the small businesses and the government entities at the local level that deserve the funding, because this money gets appropriated and you know, Congress pats itself on the back, and then it gets delivered to the state, and then that's it. It's forgotten about. We still have the 2016 floods, like 1,000-year flood, man. 2016. Congress delivered, let's call it $1 billion in recovery funding within 6 months of that flood. You know, 65% of that money is still in the state treasury. It's from the 2016 flood. So anybody that argues that the bureaucracy works, they're full of crap, man. The bureaucracy is the problem. This thick government at the state and federal level is not America's friend, and we've got to pull this thing back. So my office, you're right, yes sir. We've worked incredibly hard, totally dedicated to helping the citizens of my district stand back up after getting smashed by Hurricanes Laura and Delta a couple of years ago. And we've been very successful, quite frankly, in delivering funding. But the bureaucracies are not letting that money flow the way it should. And I'm fighting to change that. What I have to change is the whole system, though, that has become manifest over the course of 30, 40 years. Remember what Ronald Reagan said 40 years ago. He said the 10 worst words you can ever hear is that I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. That that the government is not your friend, and it's gotten worse, obviously worse, incrementally, exponentially for the last 40 years. So as bad as Ronald Reagan, warned us that the government bureaucracy was, it's horrible now. And in many ways, the alphabet agencies and departments have become predators that identify and target the American citizen or business that they choose at that time. It depends upon who's working and where and why and what the agenda is and who's pushing buttons. But we have to stand up against that. We have to. How do we stand up against that? Through Congress, through committee investigation, and by exposing the deep state actors and the bureaucracies that have abused their regulatory authority that legislation has gradually granted unto them. And they're targeting Americans and persecuting Americans. And you never really hear about it in the media, but I hear about it because I work on case file after case file after case file through my office officially, trying to help American citizens and businesses that have been targeted by alphabet agencies and departments of the federal government. So hurricane recovery is very much languishing in communities where it need not languish, not because we haven't delivered funding, because we have. Again, 3.2 billion, man. It's 3.000 million. That's 3.2 thousand million. That's a tremendous amount of money. But if the money is not accessible by the citizenry, then what good is it? Just sitting in the state treasury somewhere. So,
well, let me
yeah, I'm
ask
pretty
you this.
passionate about helping people.
Let me ask you this. So, for the average viewer that's watching, and they're just worried about the, gasoline being $4 something a gallon and milk. I don't even know how much milk is these days. What can the average person do to try to help you and our other Congress people and all that are on the good side of things? What can the average person do to try to help y'all out and try to remove these roadblocks? I mean, is there anything that we can do other than pray?
Yes, sir. You can support constitutionalist candidates at the local, state, and federal level. That would be your Freedom Caucus style candidates. Because we listen, we have real problems, guys, within the both parties. The Democrat Party is gone, gone. It's run by communists. I mean, it's really shameful what the Democrat Party has allowed itself to become. But let me tell you, we don't have to look very far. As Republicans, we can look it square in the mirror, because what's happening within our own party is horrible as well. We're allowing these big government Republicans to get rooted deep within our own party, and that's not right. Republicans, we're supposed to be the party of greater individual freedom, state sovereignty, secure borders, indomitable military, smaller government, balanced budgets, less regulations, greater free enterprise. We should never allow ourselves as a party, Republicans. We should never allow this mentality that, well, we will just be better managers of the nation's decline. Man, to hell with that. Yeah, I'm not participating in that. And as those guys identify themselves within the Republican Party, they have the right to believe that crap, but they need to get the hell out of our party, and they need to be voted out of office by Republicans. So you ask, what can we do? When guys like us, when we say we mean we the people. What can we do to help save our republic and restore our individual rights and freedoms? Well, you can look for the constitutionalist candidate. Everything from the city council and the school board, through your state representatives and senators, to your governor, to your federally elected officials, your congressmen and senators. All of us should be looking for the real constitutionalist, the true Freedom Caucus candidate. You elect that man and woman across America, and I don't buy it that we cannot win constitutionalist. I don't buy it that constitutionalist candidates cannot win in even Democrat districts, because the constitutionalist message is very clear, and it resonates across party lines. If we're courageous enough to deliver the message, then Americans hear it, and it speaks to the heart and the soul of us as Americans and patriots, no matter what party we happen to affiliate with, where we are in the economic strata, what our history is, or our color, or our creed. Freedom is cool, and a strong nation that has conservative principles and a balanced budget, a secure border. This is win, 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 win for every American. So I believe that we as voters, as taxpayers, we have an obligation to our children and our grandchildren. We have an obligation to seek out and elect the strongest constitutionalist candidate in every election. That's how we can turn this thing around.
Well, I agree 100% with you, but I think the challenge is figuring out who's really a constitutionalist, or who, those that have just labeled themselves. I mean, look, everybody says they're a conservative. If they're a Republican, they say they're a conservative. And my simple litmus test, and Duke can testify, and most of our viewers can, because I ask every candidate, is simply, what is your stance on the Second Amendment? And specifically, so I'll ask you, Congressman, where do you stand on the Second Amendment, and specifically what we commonly call constitutional carry? Do you believe that it's everyone's right to keep and bear arms, or is there a word "but" behind that?
No, I'm a constitutionalist. I carry a Kimber 1911 at all times. You understand? I did have one on my desk right here. So I'm that guy. And what we have to realize should be a real simple answer for any actual constitutionalist. And quite frankly, we should be able to carry concealed or open wherever we go. Because you know why? Because if we're a law-abiding American citizen, then we have the right to keep and bear arms. And the Second Amendment has nothing to do with hunting. Well, every time somebody says that, I just want to slap them. The founders hunting was not debated and discussed as the Constitution was born, and the Bill of Rights was debated, and the exact verbiage of all of our amendments, including the Second Amendment, was discussed, and the anointed writ was when pen was put to paper, and the spirit and soul of these founding Americans was transcribed forever to be acknowledged by the generations yet to come of this beautiful nation. The Second Amendment is the final stand of freedom for a sovereign state and a law-abiding community should we ever face an oppressive federal government. And anybody that doesn't understand that we should absolutely have the right to keep and bear. You know, we're talking about to be able to keep and bear what the founders pretty much identified as light infantry weaponry. We already have laws we follow. You know, none of us can walk around with a howitzer. You understand? We have to below as long as we're following the laws of our sovereign state, and as long as those laws are constitutionally sound, then we can carry and and practice our Second Amendment rights within the parameters of the actual Second Amendment. No law should restrict our actual Second Amendment rights. If it does, then it's not a constitutional law. Now, since the beginning, municipalities have rights to pass laws. That's a community law, and the founders debated this heavily, but they absolutely recognized the right of a community. That's a small community, though, when you're dealing with this. That's why local elections are very important, because any restrictions of our Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms, that better be a local law. And at the state level, the law should certainly reflect the Second Amendment writ. At the federal level, it should be sacrosanct, man. It should be totally protected. There should be no federal laws restricting our Second Amendment rights. Anywhere you bump into restriction of your right to keep and bear arms, that should be the rights of a private business or a property owner. In other words, a private business, that's a property owner, homeowner. I have the right to stop you from entering my property if I don't want you there. So those rights should not be restricted as we look at how they apply to Second Amendment rights. But absolutely, there should be no federal restriction, and at the state level, a sovereign state should be reflective of our constitutional rights and freedoms, including, of course, our Second Amendment rights. There should be no law at the state level that restricts our Second Amendment rights and freedoms. I hope I've made myself clear.
Oh, yes, sir. And Duke, you better chime in, because you know me, I'll stay on the Second Amendment all night. So.
I know you will, and I know Captain Clay will be all on it all night too. Hey, I wanted to talk about something else. I mean, this Biden administration, and I lump all of DC in there, but you know, your district is being impacted by having industry shut down. I mean, and having industry squeezed. Like stopping the oil and gas leases down there. I mean, that's got to be devastating to your district and to the state as a whole. And I know, like with the GOMESA funds, um, that helps on a lot of restoration projects. How are things looking on that front down there?
Well, let me say that Louisiana has a toxic legal climate that has targeted the oil and gas industry out of Baton Rouge. Before Biden was inaugurated, you notice I didn't say elected, but before Biden was inaugurated, Louisiana was already a difficult place for oil and gas industry to do business as compared to, say, Oklahoma or Texas, where you have, here's reality. If you're a project manager for the oil and gas industry and you have investors lined up for a project, say a small project, say a $10 million project, and you're going to put a hole in the ground somewhere, you can go to Louisiana, where you're looking at a 12.5% tax on your industry, or you can go to Texas, where it's a 4% tax. You can go to Louisiana, where you're almost guaranteed to get sued, lawsuits and toxic legal climate that's been supported and pushed by our own governor since he was first elected, or you can go to Texas where you're almost guaranteed to not get sued. Or Oklahoma, same thing. Where are you going to put a hole in the ground? My point is the oil and gas industry has suffered under the oppressive weight of executive action and policy out of Baton Rouge now for 6 years. When Biden got inaugurated, tragically, he doubled down on that at the federal level. But it was already difficult for the oil and gas industry to do business in Louisiana. So Louisiana is suffering from executive policies out of Baton Rouge and our own White House. And the Biden administration's agenda to crush the oil and gas and energy industry is so misguided and like criminally wrong. You know, I'm an ecologically concerned American and child of God, as I'm sure both of you are. We are biblically mandated. We're biblically mandated. The Lord gave us dominion. The translation dominion over the earth and the creatures thereof. And the translation dominion means to really to care for, not just to rule, but to care for. So we're biblically mandated to care for our planet. I challenge you to find any Republican that wants dirty air and dirty water. We're ecologically concerned too. But as it relates to energy, you want your energy clean, efficient, affordable energy produced in the area of the earth because it's going to be consumed. It's going to be consumed. The energy product and petroleum product, it's in everything around us. So the energy product must be produced because it's going to be consumed. And if you're ecologically concerned about our planet, which we all are, if we're of right mind, then you want that work done in the area of the planet where it's the most, where it's the cleanest, the most efficient, the most ecologically sound. Where is that? It's here in America. So the Biden administration and the extreme left of the Democrat Party, the Green New Deal folks, they make a lot of noise about caring about the ecology of the planet. But then they embrace this agenda, this war on American oil and gas industry, and push that industry off into nation states across the planet that have horrible ecological records. They're not nearly as clean as here in America. So I oppose them on every level. Nobody wins this debate with me, by the way. Nobody on the left will even engage in this debate with me because I crush them. You care about your planet? Good. Your energy product in everything you use, the clothes on your back, everything in your house, every part of your car, every part of the iPhone that you're using to use your fake account on social media to attack me with. All you liberals out there that say you love the planet, if you do, you should want the oil and gas industry here in America performing all the exploration, extraction, production, refining, and final delivery and packaging and petrochemical industry to deliver the raw materials for all the products that we use. You should want that done here in America. The Biden administration is wrong, wrong, wrong. And they're pushing an agenda that's very damaging to our planet and is smashing the American economy.
Amen to that.
Can't put any better than that. We did have a question, which you kind of, I think, just addressed right there, but I'll put it up anyway. So, let's see, who is this? Polly Glover from Ascension Parish says, and I'll put this up on the screen, says, Congressman, will we see a decrease in GOMESA funding due to the downturn in production? And by the administration, we need the land. Any thoughts on the funding there?
Well, listen, every American industry has been impacted, and all the revenues uh, that that industry would deliver at the local, state, and federal level will certainly suffer from the policies and the agenda being pushed by the left. It's been shoved down the throat of the American people right now. We have a Congress that's out of control, run by Democrats, 100%. You got Article 1 and Article 2. Thank God we have Article 3, right, fellas? Thank God we have, we've been able to staff the federal courts with some solid patriots, hundreds and hundreds of them across the country, because our court system, as much as we can complain about our court system, imagine if we did not have some level of conservative majority control in Article 3, because we don't have Article 1, which for those of you listeners and viewers that don't know, that's the legislative branch of our government. That's Congress. That's a bicameral, bipartisan Congress. It's divided between two chambers. The lower chamber, the House of Representatives. That's the House of We the People. We have a 2-year election cycle. Why? Every congressman and congresswoman, because the founders wanted a bad representative to be replaced very quickly. That's why we have a 2-year election cycle, and we should have a 2-year election cycle, but the people should be better at removing a bad, unconstitutionalist representatives. And in the upper chamber, we have the Senate. They have a 6-year term. They were envisioned by our founders to be the more erudite and politically inclined of the citizenry. So the Democrats have control over the legislative branch of our government. It's Article 1. They control the executive branch of our government. That's the White House and all the executive authorities and powers. That's Article 2. They are shoving stuff down into the living rooms and the business headquarters and the work sites and the plants. They are pushing their agenda hard because they know they're about to lose majority control in Congress. And thank God we have Article 3. We can use the court systems to slow down the radical agenda that the Democrats have been forcing on America now for several years. They've had majority control since January the 3rd of 2019. They won the majority in the 2018 election cycle, a majority of Congress, and they got the inaugurated president. They managed to put him in office since January the 20th of 2021. So we are, again, an anointed nation. I don't think it's any, mistake that we have the protections of Article 3 in our court systems to help us just survive as a nation through this insidious agenda that's being pushed upon us by the leftists that have come to be in control of the once, arguably great Democratic Party. So men like me, Freedom Caucus guys, we will stand against to answer the citizens' question. Yeah, funding is going to be impacted by these policies. We have a nation we're trying to save right now, and it's a sort of spirit that we have to have deep resolve. This is the somber time in American history. So yes, fundings will be impacted, revenues will be impacted, our GDP will suffer. American citizens, our actual ability to pay our bills is going to suffer as inflation continues out of control, government continues to grow, and some of us are doing our best to slow this thing down. That's why the Freedom Caucus is calling for recorded votes on everything coming through the House, blowing down the Democrats from pushing all these damn laws through. That it's really ugly, the kind of thing that they're doing, and they're quite skilled at selling their selling their agenda with clever titles. I mean, only 9 of us voted against this this baby formula thing. The legislation that they pushed through, knowing that even Republicans would be frightened to vote against it because they were scared of fading the heat because of the pretty title. This was legislation that gave greater powers to the very federal authorities that caused the baby formula crisis to begin with.
Amen to that.
And man, really ugly what they're doing. But some of us, I don't care what these politicians think of me, man.
Well,
I don't work for them. Yeah, I don't like them. I don't work for them.
You brought up a good point that, yeah, the baby formula situation was caused by the federal government. And we have a lot of politicians, and a lot of them on the local and the state and the federal level, that their bragging rights seem to be how many laws or bills that they were able to introduce. And I'm like, no. That does not show me how great of a legislator you were, because you're only making it worse unless those bills are to remove some existing restrictions and bureaucracy that's all already there.
Bingo. Man, somehow or another, we've gotten to a point in our country where these guys are rewarding themselves for failure. The founders intended for it to be very difficult to pass federal legislation. Why do you think they intended for it to be very difficult to pass legislation? Because the founders recognized natural law. They knew that the founders recognized that mankind is apt to be corrupt since Adam, and therefore, when you have mankind placed in positions of authority, you're apt to have corrupt authority. And therefore, the founders, with their anointed wisdom, recognized that if you were to have a nation where men could live free, and where sovereignties would be the norm amongst the communities and households and the several sovereign states, as a new nation emerged and stood up. The founders recognized that the elected officials, although a requirement of any republic, elected officials would have to be constrained so that we could protect our nation from the corrupt nature of man. So these guys that think, oh, look at all these laws we passed, yay for us. It's the opposite is true.
That's right.
Legislation at the local, state, and federal level should always protect rights and freedoms of the individual. And the more you restrict rights and freedoms of any American citizen, the greater power you give to the corrupt few that gained authority and control, including unnamed, unknown, unelected bureaucrats that populate this massive federal government and bureaucracy, this system that again, gentlemen, we're responsible. This thing happened under our watch. And therefore, I'll be damned if it isn't up to us to fix it, right? Because I don't intend to leave a failing nation to my grandchildren. No, sir. I'll give my last life's blood before that happens.
I'll admit I feel a little better tonight after talking to you, because I was almost to the point where all hope is lost. Almost. Go ahead, dude.
Well, I don't want to be the guy to bring it down, and because, man, that is such a high note there. But a lot of folks, and look, I'm going to tell you, me myself, I mean, I'm going to go there. Me myself, I feel like DC is a lost cause. And yeah, I agree with you, Captain Clay. Electing true, conservatives, constitutionalists, yeah, that's the way forward. But to people who after 2020 don't have faith in the process anymore, and they don't have faith that the elections are fair, I, I wonder, do people on our side of the aisle up there, do they, the Republicans, do they realize how much angst people out here on the street in flyover country have, that they they've lost hope. They don't feel like they can trust elections anymore. No judicial system would take anything up. And if anybody's found guilty, or actually it makes the light of day that they did something crooked in DC, oh, they're just going to get some leftist judge that was appointed by Obama and give them a pat on the hand, and there won't be any real discipline. DC's broken, they protect themselves. You see it going on right now today with the Sussman Russia collusion crap. I mean, the FBI lied their ass off. Lied. It's being proven today in court. Today. And the worst that guy Sussman's going to get is a slap on the hand. People have no faith. I mean, I don't know, what would you say to somebody? And that's me. What would you say to me?
I'm gonna help you feel better, brother. I want you to listen, if you would. I say this with a great deal of humility and respect, because I'm talking to not to American patriots, but I'm speaking through the heart of our patriotic love for our country. So what you're expressing is the acknowledgement of the reality that your intellect is allowing you to observe, and you're speaking honestly, based upon that wisdom. So I will share with you the words of Paul in Corinthians, when Paul told us to place not your faith in the wisdom of man, but in the spirit and power of God. And from our perspective, as we're discussing the challenges our nation faces, I'll refer again to something that I believe, that we are an anointed nation. And therefore, as an anointed nation, the Lord will never abandon us. If we, if America's future can live within the heart of patriots, then our Savior will illuminate the path to preserve our republic, and we'll make it through this dark time. I cannot say that from an intellectual perspective, I disagree with you that DC is, it's a bizarre and evil realm now, but the foundation of our nation is still there, and it's up to American patriots of every ilk, and I say this from the depths of my heart. Every American, regardless of your party affiliation, your creed, your culture, how much money you have or don't have, what your background is, what your religion is. If you are an American citizen, then you're part of this thing. You're part of the fabric that weaves the flag that waves in glory above us, and therefore every American owns a piece of the duty to stand this thing back up. And where does that begin? When it seems hopeless, when our eyes observe hopelessness, and our head tells us that the way forward is lost. That this is where faith comes in. And I just tell you that I am a realist. I'm a pragmatic man. I'm a regular American man. I've lived a normal life You know, I'm a I'm a veteran. I'm a biker. You know, I'm an old street cop, SWAT cop. I'm a husband, a son, a father, a brother. I'm just a regular American man, and I have faith in the future of our country, despite the darkness we're in right now. I hope that I hope that means something.
Wow. I'm sincerely inspired. Like, Duke and I have had plenty of conversations, where we're at the edge and, or we're fixing to go over the edge as far as the country and the way the politics are run. But you're right. Sometimes we forget just to have that little bit of faith and keep it going. So I appreciate that.
I
Yeah,
do as well too,
gentlemen,
Captain.
I I have I probably worn out my welcome on your show. I don't know how long you go, but I'll be happy to join you again if our schedules will allow that. You know, I work for you. You mentioned you North Louisiana. I serve all of Louisiana, and by extension, I serve Americans from sea to shining sea, and it's my great and solemn honor to do so. So, the founders envisioned that the elected officials would serve the American people, and I hope to be worthy of that level of commitment to the American people, as the founders hoped that a congressman would. I hope to be worthy of that. So being on your show with you tonight was not just a decision that I made or something that worked out. It's part of it's my job is to be accessible to the American people, to communicate candidly and openly, unscripted, to respond to the concerns and address the issues that face America. So I thank you for allowing me to be on your show, and I hope to join you again.
Well, anytime you're welcome, and we've had a lot of comments rolling here, so I'm pretty sure most of our viewers and the folks that kind of follow what we're talking about would love to have you back on in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless
Captain
everybody in the
Clay.
whole Bossier area. I have people there.
Oh yeah, how about that?
Yeah, I do. I have people there. I'm saying hello to them right now. My wife is texting. So, guys,
Awesome.
God bless you, and I will speak with you again. I'm at your avail. You call, I will always call you back.
All right. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Have a
sir.
good evening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
Well,
that was your first discussion with Captain Clay.
yeah, and I have to say, very, very impressive. Just from the standpoint of he's right in the middle and the thick of the, for lack of a better term, swamp in D.C. And yet he still got a little bit of faith that it can be fixed. So yeah, I mean it was actually good for me to meet him tonight, albeit virtually. But I thought what he said rang pretty true.
Yeah, if you haven't seen some of his stuff, I mean, he was grilling in committee one of I think it was Mayorkas. He was the head of Homeland Security, and he was speaking to him just like he was speaking there. He says, "Look, I'm speaking to you, man to man." And if you hadn't seen the video, you need to go
Oh,
watch
I
it.
got to go find
But
that.
it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. He's like, "I'm speaking to you, man to man." He says, "Why don't you just resign? Just resign. You have been a failure." And, and I mean, and he laid it out there. Wine just called on him as a man. Have some honor and respect yourself, because what you're standing here saying you've accomplished, you've not accomplished at all. You've accomplished the opposite.
Well,
And
and look,
you should go watch it.
I'd argue we need more of that, whether it's local on the state level or on the federal level. Is I don't want them to be up there and, well, my friend so and so, and my friend this congressman, and my friend that congressman. No, get up there and speak bluntly. Look, kind of switching us back
Exactly.
to the local side of stuff. It's the reason that right now I've got a lot of respect for Chris Smith and Brian Hammonds, because so far they're at least asking questions. They're doing it in a respectful manner on the city council, but, they're asking the questions that need to be asked. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox about that.
Too many politicians just go along without saying no and voting their heart, and going with what they know in their heart's right. Clay Higgins is one of those guys.
Yeah.
He is going with what is in his heart and what he believes is right. And Chris Smith is doing it. Brian Hammonds is doing it. We need more people like that.
Yes, we do.
Man, I could go on.
I meant to ask him if he was still sleeping on the air mattress on the floor of his D.C. office. That was the big thing when he first got to D.C. was he was sleeping on the floor. And I think then his wife bought him an air mattress or something. But anyway, we'll ask him next time he's on.
Yeah, we will. So, falling back a little bit, what do we want to go to? I mean, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. The Jimmie Davis Bridge, we've got First Church. Hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Becca Higgins just commented and said, yes, he is, and thank you, Bossier Watch. Thank you for sharing your time with the congressman and your husband. We appreciate that. So, yeah, there's so much to talk about. I want to move on. We got to talk about noodling. I know this is not a fishing show, and I've got a fishing show that I'm doing live, but we've got to talk about noodling. And then we'll get to whether we're ever going to be able to bungee jump. And then for those of you that have been patiently waiting, folks, we're going to talk some more about First Church. So it's now on the agenda.
Are we talking about noodling? Are we talking about more bureaucracy like what Captain Clay was talking about?
Well, yes, Duke, we are. So let me see if I can get our screens, kind of switched around here. And let me get back into play here, but I bet you didn't know. Well, maybe you did, but I bet a lot of you watching didn't know that apparently our Congress critters down in Baton Rouge, our benevolent overlords down there, have now given us the legal authority to stick our hands in the mouths of catfish. Did you know that?
Well, no, I didn't know that, but I mean, who would want to stop? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm one. My wheels are spinning off of the rails here. Why would someone want to stop me from if I was dumb enough to stick my arm in the mouth of a catfish? I mean, what? I don't get it.
Well, and look, full disclosure, I haven't been noodling yet, but really I hadn't been asked by anybody yet. But I would go noodling just to say that I've done it. There's tons of YouTube videos out there and YouTube channels, and it's insanely popular. As a matter of fact, I'll show here in a second, we just had a noodling tournament here in Bossier City. But here's the reason that I'm really mentioning the noodling. So I've got on the screen, for those of you that are watching, this is House Bill 419 of the 2020 regular session. This just went through, was it the full Senate or one of the Senate committees? I always get that confused. But anyway, so present law prohibits the use of snagging devices for taking game fish, but provides an exception for taking catfish by snagging devices. So I'm guessing that they consider snagging, sticking your fist in a catfish's mouth in a hole or tunnel or under a chunk of concrete in the water. So our wonderful Congress people down there in Baton Rouge who just can't keep their hands out of literally everything that people might want to do, they have or have not now passed.
Well, they're wanting to codify sticking your hand somewhere else.
Yes, I can tell you where they could stick their hands, most of them, but I digress. So proposed law retains the present law, which already says you can take catfish by a snagging device, and adds that catfish, oh, thank you, Mother May I of the state, catfish may also be taken by hand grabbing, commonly referred to as noodling. Thank you, Baton Rouge. We have so many problems, and these jackwagons, to use your term, are worried about noodling.
No, I gotta ask: are you going to have to be licensed to stick your arm in the mouth of a catfish? Are you going to have to pay to be able to do this?
Well, I don't know. So let me pull up this Channel 3 clip because this was of the Channel 3 news segment of the noodling tournament they just had, and I wonder if any of these people in the noodling tournament knew that they were going to need the permission of Baton Rouge, or that they might need a license. Let me flip screens over here for a second. So bear with me just a second, and let's watch a Channel 3 news clip, and hopefully the ad doesn't play. Here we go.
Bass fishing tournaments and crappie fishing tournaments all the time, even tournaments for catfish. But what about hand fishing tournaments where you just use your hands? Yeah, that's right. It's the inaugural Get Loose Noodling hand fishing tournament, and it took place Saturday at 5, and oh man, they caught some big fish. Up to 4 people could be on that team, and they got to go to any lake they wanted as long as they were back for the weigh-ins. Bayou Outdoor Power Sports in Bossier City by 7 p.m. No rod, no reel needed, just your hands. Look at these monster fish. Took some brave folks to put their fingers in those mouths.
I'm going to stop it right there. Do you think that any of them cared?
No.
Whether Baton Rouge cared? Whether they stuck their hand in a catfish's mouth?
I ain't never done it, but I've got a lot of friends that have done it, and I'm just wondering if you got to be licensed. That bill was by McFarland. I'm wondering if that was Jack McFarland. Jack McFarland's a good guy. I would love to hear the story. Did some wildlife and fisheries jackwagon go and write somebody up for noodling a catfish?
I don't know. Was this part of the?
Is that what caused this?
Was this part of the new friendlier license fees that are now $17 some odd or whatever for a fishing license? I mean, now we can buy that fishing license and we can go noodling now legally? Is that what this is? David Jones says, was it illegal to begin with? I don't think it was, David, and that's what I was talking about earlier with laws being negative. I mean, adding this, if it wasn't already illegal, is just setting it up for a negative. It's just stupid. It goes right back to Congress people writing laws just for the sake of writing laws. If there was no law against noodling, then it was legal. It's that simple. That's like constitutional carry, or open carry. I'm sorry. The reason that we can open carry is not because there's a law that says we can. It's because there's no law that says we can't. The only reason we have to get rid of concealed carry and go to constitutional is because there's a law that says we can't conceal carry without a permit, and mother may I to the state. All right, I'm getting off my soapbox.
Now, you keep saying our Congress people. I mean, look, they're legislators. They're not Congress people, okay? Congress people are in D.C. That's Congress.
They're all the same.
We got legislators in Baton Rouge.
They're all
okay.
The same.
We may be splitting hairs here a little bit, but
did you know that on the federal books and across the states, it's estimated that there are over 25,000 gun laws on the books, including local ordinances as well. Now, put that in perspective for a second. Over 25,000 gun laws on the books across this country. So it doesn't matter whether they're, our legislators, our state senators or state reps down in Baton Rouge, or whether they're actually in the halls of hallowed Congress or not. For the most part, except for folks like Higgins, Congressman Higgins, they're all pretty much the same. All right. So I want to show one other deal, and then I'll get off the noodling kick. Now, I don't think this was actually in Louisiana. There's videos all over YouTube. But look, this 8-year-old kid is learning how to noodle. Yeah, wait, watch, look.
This is nuts. You're in some swampy area and there's a hole in a mud embankment and you're going to stick your arm in there?
Oh, yeah.
Are you crazy?
Oh, come on. If an 8-year-old can do it, Duke, we can do it. We can bungee jump and then go noodling. How about that?
Yeah, but I can see where I'm going. That right there? No.
All right, here we go. Watch this. I'm kind of fast forwarding through it.
There's got to be something in there to have him for a snack.
Yeah, you got him, buddy. All by yourself. Look at that. Hold him. Don't pull him out yet. Ooh, let him go. There.
8-year-old kid, and the best part's the very end. I'm gonna play, so bear with me for a second.
Good grip? Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. You got him, son. Okay, when you pull him out, you better hold on tight. He's gonna go crazy. Okay.
That fish is as big as that kid is.
He's gonna go crazy. You sure?
Well, I'm just wondering, are the possum cops going to write the kid the ticket, or are they going to write the dad the ticket?
Yeah, no kidding. Which way does it go?
Joseph!
All right, now.
Small, buddy.
All right.
Look at that.
Listen to this at the end.
Whoa! You got him?
Listen right here.
Hold on to it. He's pulling you, isn't he? Okay.
Right here. Right here.
Take him over to mommy. You got him.
Is this all me?
That's
He
all
said,
you.
"Is this all me?" Did he do all that? Yes, you did. Now, see, that's why the jackwagons down in Baton Rouge our legislators need to just, I don't know. Sometimes they just need to mind their own business. All right, so enough about noodling. People are now wondering what the heck kind of show we're running over here.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Well, hey, Jimmie Davis Bridge. Let's hit the Jimmie Davis Bridge real quick and just let's run over a few things. So, as you know, Tommy Chandler took credit for, going to get the new bridge built down there. Remember?
He did, and Lisa Friday Johnson from the Chamber of Commerce has been fighting heavily, and she swears up and down that our lieutenant governor has said he's taken over that deal, and we were going to get bungee jumping out of it.
Going to be a state park, and I mean, look, I think Lisa and Tommy are duking it out as to whether or not who's going to get the glory for it becoming a state park. But wait a minute.
But wait, there's more. Yeah,
something kind of smelled funny about all that. Something didn't add up to me and you.
Yeah, so let me get this. Let me get this screenshot pulled up. Let me get the noodling out of the way and get this set up. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the button now. So we'll flip screens. All right, Duke. So what's going on? Why aren't we going to be able to get our bungee jumping like we want?
Well, as you were pointing out, those congressional people, or as I use, those legislators, it just so happens that there's this little old law down there in Baton Rouge that governs what can and what can't be a state park.
Really?
And I think the number is something along the lines of 561684 if you feel like looking it up. And we got a little screenshot here, and as you will see, the criteria for the selection of areas to be designated as a state park shall be, drum roll please.
Yeah, number one, size. For those of you listening or those of you on a mobile phone, kind of hard to see the writing. Number one is size, and it says all state parks must adhere to an absolute minimum size standard of how many acres there, Duke?
250 acres.
Wow.
And a preferred minimum size standard of 400 acres.
That presents a challenge for Lisa, Tommy, and Billy Nungesser.
It does present a challenge. I mean, how did they overcome, this legislation or this, Congress people law or whatever? How did they overcome this state law? How did that happen? How did they do it?
Maybe they're just going to do it and wait for somebody to sue them. I don't know. I just put a comment up there. Somebody needs to go ahead and text Lisa Friday Johnson because she and Billy, they got a problem. How are they going to get around this?
Well, maybe they need to group text and include Tommy Chandler in there so he can get off and say that, no, he didn't get it done. So he can change his story, one of the two, but somebody better start communicating here because got a little problem. But as rumor would have it, apparently our legislators, at least one of them, is in tune on the subject.
Oh, really?
Did you know that?
No, I was not aware of that. Imagine one of our legislators actually being in tune.
Now I think, his attempt to fix this problem here doesn't have a snowball's chance, but it was pretty interesting in thinking here, and I don't know that I agree with it. I could for Bossier and the folks for the Jimmie Davis Bridge, might could have a little, self-interest. Yeah, would want this to pass, but in the long run, I don't know that it would be in the best interest of the whole state of Louisiana if you did this. So What has been told to me is that Senator Barrow Peacock, recognizing this problem, was going to, and we haven't reached out to Barrow, but as the story would goes, Barrow was going to try to rectify this, and how he was going to try to rectify this little problem of size as it appears in state law. uh, he was going to make an amendment to an unrelated House bill that kind of deals in this stuff, and was going to seek to get Caddo and Bossier Parish exempted from this state law.
All right, now let me pause you right there for a second because Lisa is now watching the show. So, Lisa, glad to have you here and commenting and all that. So we've got a problem here because, according to state law, the park has to be a minimum of 250 acres to qualify as a state park. Now, I haven't run the math yet on the size of the bridge and how much acreage is technically there, but my pretty strong guess is that it's not 250 acres, certainly, from one end of the bridge to the other. So did Billy's office indicate how they were going to get around this, or do you have any insight to that? If you would, let us know in the comments, or you're welcome to come on either way, but if you want to just let us know in the comments, that would be great. How are they going to get around this law? All right, dude, sorry to interrupt.
That'll be interesting to hear her response, and so the bill that Senator Peacock was going to offer an amendment to was HB 762. It was set to be heard in on the Senate floor yesterday. My understanding was that he was going to attempt to amend it on the floor. That didn't happen. Didn't get to follow through today, so I really don't know if it happened today. If anybody was watching any of the Senate business to tell whether or not this transpired or not, would love to hear it. But in addition to that problem, there's another problem with this whole thing. I don't think the old Jimmie Davis Bridge, I don't think it's going to get tore down. So we can't be a linear park, but I don't think it's going to get tore down as well.
Look,
even
I
if you
don't
build
care.
the new 4-lane bridge.
As long as we get the bungee jump off of it, I don't care what they do with it. They can make it bigger for all I care. I do want to put up, so Lisa did comment. She said, yep, correct. We learned this from the director of state parks after Billy and I communicated. So sounds like Billy must not have been aware of that little pesky 250 acre law as well. But thank you for replying, Lisa. We appreciate that.
Well, as it would turn out, Rex, that the old bridge isn't going anywhere regardless of what happens down there. And I'm thinking that this that I'm fixing to tell you and report is going to calculate into what type of bridge you have down there. So remember here.
Hold that thought for 1 second. Our good friend, the former one of the three amigos, Shane Cheatham, says, I'm just going to put his comment up here over this. So he says, word on the street in Sobo is 4-lane bridge isn't happening now. Hearing 2-lane bridge, refurb of old bridge, and widening of Jimmie Davis Highway, which would take land from many businesses on Jimmie Davis Highway. Isn't that what they were supposed to do in the beginning or something? All right, and sorry to interrupt you, Duke, but
he's trying to crash our show and take my thunder there, because that was where I was going. But the $1 million question is does he know why?
See, that's the question. Why?
Yeah, you always have to know the why. Well, as it would turn out, if everybody will take a step back and you'll remember what was the first goal for down there. Everybody wanted a bridge, but they were like, okay, the old bridge needs to be refurbed. We need to get some money. It's getting in pretty dilapidated shape. We need to do some repairs to it, right? So apparently there was an application to the federal government in some program to get some monies, and you had to go through these applications, and you got all these boxes that you got to check to get certain monies and to enroll in certain programs. Well, the particular program that they enrolled in, apparently, and there was a particular box that was checked, and it happened to be a box that was on the part of the environmental assessment field that said that you wouldn't, if you were going to get monies to refurb this bridge, or if it's a refurbishable bridge, it won't be tore down.
Oh, really?
So the state took the money, and you locked yourself into this old bridge to where you can't tear it down even if you wanted to. You have to. It's either got to just sit there, you've got to refurbish it, or you make it a linear park. You got no choice. It ain't going nowhere.
But you know what the biggest problem with that is? It has nothing to do with the box or whether they do a park. I mean, yeah, I want the bungee jumping, but that's not the big problem. The big problem is our mainstream media and our Congress critters and everybody else associated with it, and legislators have said, what was the reason that they couldn't do anything with the bridge? It was kind of similar to that baseball field in Shreveport, kind of. It had something to do with, oh, yeah, it was birds. That was the reason. But you're
I thought you was going to say bats or something.
Well, no, it's the bats over on the baseball field on the other side of the river. But it was the birds. Wasn't it like, I don't remember if it was barn swallows, or David Jones could probably tell us. But it was a problem with some of the birds that were nesting there or some crap. I don't know. They didn't want to shoot the birds or kill the birds or whatever, or relocate the birds. That's all we heard. It was birds, birds, birds. You're telling me it was a checkbox on a form?
That's what I'm told. It was a checkbox on a form that they, a contractual agreement they made with the federal government to get the money, that if, it's a repairable bridge, it would not be torn down, it would be refurbed, it would stay just sitting there, but it wouldn't be torn down.
And
that was the agreement. And for them to do anything other than that, they would be in breach of their contract with the federal government, and apparently the federal government is holding them to the contract.
Well,
that is the rub.
So here's a question, though. So what? I mean, what's the feds going to do? Are they going to send the army?
Well, they may want their money back, or they may cut more fund. Well, here's a better question.
There. See, you were getting to it.
I was going there. You're just on top of your game tonight. Sprinkle a little congressman on you, and you're just on fire. See, Congressman Clay, you had an effect on him. He's clicking on all cylinders. I can't get nothing past him. So here's the question. I mean, why can't Congressman Johnson or our U.S. senators? I mean, they can't do something on this.
Yeah, where are they? What's that senator's name? He's always after sound bites all the time. Oh, Kennedy. Yeah, where are you at, Kennedy? And
no, I like Cassidy.
Well,
he's got his hand stuck up somewhere doing something.
Oh yeah, but you can't trust Cassidy. At least Kennedy, you can halfway trust him. MJ, I mean, he can't go take selfies with Trump. Maybe y'all can figure out something to do with this bridge and tell us the truth.
Well, wait a minute. Now we're picking on Cassidy here, but I got an idea that Cassidy may be the only hope.
Oh, that's.
I mean, John Bel Edwards is the governor. John Bel Edwards is the governor. What's Mike Johnson going to do? Is him and JBE going to get together and they going to get this worked out? No. John Bel ain't calling Mike Johnson.
Well, he might call him something, all right. Kennedy.
Now, he might call Cassidy. Cassidy's on the other side of the fence there. So,
it's true. Politics, strange bedfellows, that whole thing. Hey, our good friend David Jones put up an interesting comment. He said the state paid two employees 40 hours a week for a year to run the birds off with lasers. Kind of like, what was that movie, Austin Powers, the sharks? Sharks
so you're
with
telling
lasers.
Me we are torturing martins or whatever was under that bridge with lasers?
Apparently so. We got to go find some documentation. I don't not believe you, David, but we got to find some documentation of that. Information request time.
I mean, I thought lasers would blind people. Will it not blind birds? Are they immune to lasers?
Well, maybe PETA didn't know about it. Who knows? So here's where we stand. We have a sidewalk to nowhere down there, of course. Now we've got a bridge to nowhere that we were, basically promised that we were going to get the bungee jump off of with this nice linear park. But oh, wait a minute, there's this thing called the law, and the law says we can't do that without changing the law, which is not happening. And so we've got, instead of barn swallows being the problem that we were lied to about, it was actually a checkbox on a form to be hostage to the federal government to get some of our tax dollars back to do something about the stupid bridge that apparently is not going to. This is nuts.
Yeah, that's right. So, Lisa, where are we going to bungee jump now?
That's it.
I want to know. I want to know where we're bungee jumping now.
We need a bungee jumping business in Bossier City. You're president of the Chamber of Commerce. We need a bungee jumping business in this town. Duke and I are pissed
And
now.
don't let Tommy Chandler steal your thunder again. Okay.
Never. Because he stole the thunder and he's not going to take credit for the screw up. All right, yeah, we got to move on.
So we've covered noodling of all things. We've covered the bungee jumping off the Jimmie Davis Bridge. I mean, what else is there to talk about?
I don't know. Man, there's this whole political church, 5 million something or another reasons, dollars, I don't know, going on. So first things first, you were playing court reporter. It was last week, right? I think was it last Tuesday? Last Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah.
Whatever day it was.
Yeah. Went in, sit, and I was doing I'm not good at that. I should have tried texting it. That's what I should have done, because I've been following the DC court with Sussman, because you got people in there. I don't know how they do it. I mean, maybe that is a professional court reporter texter or something, because these cats can punch out texts of actually quotes of what people were saying and get it right. It's amazing. I can't write it the fast as what they do. But anyway, I was taking notes.
Speedy Gonzalez thumbs. All right, so I think I remember you saying, but again, correct me if I'm wrong, because, of course I wasn't there, that the judge, or somebody told us that the judge was supposed to have some kind of, maybe not ruling, but some kind of decision or something or another. I thought, maybe I'm nuts, like by Friday of last week. Am I crazy, or did I imagine that?
Yeah, I think so. Or it was this week. I can't remember now exactly. I'd have to go back to my notes. And
could have been this week. Maybe I was wrong.
No, judgment. I got my notes right here. Judgment to be made this week.
Oh, okay.
That's what he said.
So I was a little off. So he's still got, a couple, 3 or 4 days left. Wait, let me back up for a second. Hold on. Rewind the tape. So Lisa Friday Johnson.
And he said, only on the 901 is what he said. Only on the 901.
Only on the 901. All right, rewind for a second. Lisa Friday Johnson says, I heard you two were going to underwrite a bungee jumping facility with zip lining. Now, we might do that, but our job is to promote stuff, hence the social media channel. But if you want to hit that donations link with a large enough amount, we'll gladly underwrite all the bungee jumping and zip lining y'all want to have in Bossier City. Somebody just put enough zeros in the donation button, and we will make it happen. Okay, so we hit the fast forward button back up here, back to First Church. So hopefully we'll get some kind of more information from the court this week, right?
That's right. But if you remember, we covered a lot in that show talking about the First Church. And, the defendant's attorney, stated something to the effect of that the plaintiffs up to this point hadn't given a single reason as to why they were interested in everything or wanted everything, or remember that? Something to that effect?
Yeah, because my little snide remark was, just because they wanted the information, that should be good enough, and they were members of the church.
Yeah, and I think the plaintiff said, look, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant as to why. The law says that we can have it. And so apparently, there was we ended up posting on our webpage and Facebook or what have you. We ended up posting the suit or the
Yes, we
amended
did.
suit
Yes, we did.
that was filed, and I think it was pretty clear there were some reasons listed in that petition.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of them. Let me flip screens over here. Hold on just a second. See if I can make our technology work well this evening. And I'm going to zoom up a little bit for those of you watching mobile or whatever. So, yeah, this is a copy of the amended petition that was sent to us. And I'm just rolling through it real quick, folks. I know y'all, probably make you dizzy if you watch it. But, yeah, there's like a lot of reasons. They got like 9,999,000, almost 5 million reasons why. It's 20-something pages long.
Yeah, and that this petition and that being posted on our page, that's an entirely different story altogether that we can tell on another show or whenever you would like. But on page, I think it was page 17 of the amended petition, there was an interesting part in this.
Well, let me scroll down to that, and while I'm doing that, Greg Bell's put up a kind of lengthy comment, so I'll just go down to the bottom of it. It says, the court will render an opinion by the end of this week, Smith. So thank you, Greg Bell, for clarifying that for us, helping us out there. All right, so page 17, correct, Duke?
Correct, yes.
All right, let me scroll real fast, make everybody dizzy. All right, so I'm on page 17, which is like number 99 in the list of things that they're listing here. Which one do we want to look at?
Scroll down just right there, breach of fiduciary duty. Wait a minute, back up just a hair.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Right
in
there, right there. So this one right here, now we got a bunch of comments and we got a bunch of emails after that last show, just different things. Some things we knew already, some things we didn't know already. And we went back and we read this amended petition pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And this part right here jumped out at us.
Mm-hmm.
And if you folks didn't get the opportunity to see this amended petition, this one right here is pretty interesting.
Well, but let's pause right there for a second. Let's talk about seeing this amended petition for just a second, dude. So I mentioned and teased out in the show that we were going to talk about it. So we have this amended petition posted, the screenshots of it. Actually, I opened the PDF, saved them as pings, and posted them up there technically. But anyway, and so it's very easy to scroll through that. But I had also, as I almost always do, posted a downloadable and thus printable PDF of this public information. But some of you noticed that I pulled the link down. Anybody in the comments want to guess why I removed the link to the PDF to this public information? Why did I do that? And I'll give you all a couple of minutes to
how much is in it? I'll guess if you tell me how much is in it. Is it a free bunch?
We can't participate in our own contest.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was just going to seek to be the first to jump off the bungee jump thing, but no, you know what? No, I don't want to go first. I'll be second or fourth.
Yeah, whoever guesses it, if and when we get enough donations to build a bungee jumping and ziplining business, then whoever guesses this correctly will be the first in line and get a free bungee jump and a free zip line. Greg Bell, you're close. He's on the ball. Greg Bell's even closer. And so, Greg, who would that be? Who would be the they that charge per page? And let me put his comments up here. And who would be the they or that are losing money? Okay, dude. So let's move on for a second, and we'll circle back around.
Bell. Who is Greg Bell? He's high achieving.
I know. He's on fire tonight. So, yeah, let's move on for a little bit, and then we're going to circle back, and I'm going to tell you all exactly what happened.
So, on page 17 here of the amended petition, this one right here, I mean, again, we had a couple of, notes that were sent to us, and we went back and read this thing, and then right here, this kind of jumped out at us. I'll just read it. In 2015, Dr. Jerkovich obligated First Baptist Bossier to pay for an endowment to Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in the amount of $100,000.
Okay.
Well, that don't sound too bad. It's a Christian college teaching things. I mean, I mean,
that's not out of the ordinary.
now I'm going to guess that some folks would have objection to that, especially if, you know, they're part of the board and expenditures at the church, and they always have input or approval process and all of that. And then, as it's, you know, said in this petition, that, you know, the pastor arbitrarily changed the process of how expenditures are approved. If he changed it and did this and nobody else knew anything about it, they probably had a problem with it. But it goes on. Upon information and belief, Dr. Jerkovich attempted to get his previous church, Victory Life Church of Lubbock, Texas, to make a similar endowment. Now, we don't know if they did, and we don't know if they didn't. Don't know at all.
Right.
But the next part, I think this is the part where it kind of jumps out. Nope, goes a little bit further. But upon information and belief, Dr. Jerkovich's true purpose for the endowment was to appease Dr. Paige Patterson, the then director of Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, Dr. Jerkovich's mentor and founding member of the Conservative Baptist Network.
Yeah, that's another key phrase right there.
Paige Patterson, you know, he was Dr. Brad's mentor. So I get it. He's supporting where he came from. You know, he's reaching back out to his previous, you know, watering hole of Victory Life Church, trying to get them to get involved. I mean, so far, not too bad. Conservative Baptist Network, you know, that Brad's the spokesperson for that group. Not the Southern Baptist Convention, but right here in 103. However, despite the donation coming from First Baptist Bossier, specifically funds earmarked for mission support, the endowment was referred to as the Stephanie Jerkovich Endowment for the Mercy Ministry Hospital Room Ministry of the Homer Homemaking House.
That's a long... I mean, who makes this up?
I don't know. As a result of the endowment, a picture of Stephanie Jerkovich hangs in Southwest Baptist Theological Seminary, along with a plaque that states, quote, Stephanie Jerkovich Hospitality Room given by her husband Brad Jerkovich and Victory Life Church, Lubbock, Texas.
All right. So to review and make sure that I'm not fuzzy on this, the endowment was given, or the donation was given from First Bossier funds, according to this petition and according to these plaintiffs. But the endowment was referred to as the Stephanie Jerkovich Endowment for blah, 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 blah. And there's a picture of Stephanie, Brad's wife, hanging up in there. And it says it was given by Brad and Victory Life Church?
And no, there's a plaque.
Or a plaque.
A plaque that states Stephanie Jerkovich Hospitality Room given by her husband Brad Jerkovich and Victory Life Church, Lubbock, Texas.
Okay.
Now, did you hear in there anywhere where First Baptist Bossier was mentioned?
No, not in this amended petition. And we're guessing, people. I hate to use the word assume.
I don't know that we're guessing here.
Well,
the plaintiffs are saying this is a fact.
Correct.
They're not saying that this isn't a fact.
No, hold on. Where I was headed with that was you and I are guessing that the attorneys and the plaintiffs do have it correct. In full disclosure,
that's
I've
right.
never seen this picture of Stephanie nor the plaque which mentions Brad and Victory Life Church. So we're going based on what the lawsuit says, right?
Yeah, but so we're assuming that so yeah, is it possible that this isn't correct? But I would find it hard to believe they would just make this up.
I agree with you 100%.
But put yourself in the shoes. If you were a First Baptist person and you found out about this, would you not feel slighted that you didn't get recognition, but that your endowment?
The cynic in me says that they should be giving the praise and glory to Jesus, not to the church at all, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yes.
That's
point
a
taken.
whole other conversation.
But again, I mean, there's so many directions we could go here, but I'm just saying that.
Yeah, for purposes of the
Shouldn't
lawsuit and the church members and what seems to be going on, because there's much more to this part of the story. Yeah, I'm just being a little snide. So I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
So couple this and this is a rabbit hole here, and so with some of the information that was sent to us or the emails, it kind of made us start doing a little following up. Now remember, Brad's old mentor when he graduated from over there, Paige Patterson, up there.
Yeah, the name we mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
Patterson.
just a little bit above.
Yeah, somewhere up there. Yeah,
you know,
Dr.
he was the
Paige
president. He was the president over there at that time. Well, here's where the story gets interesting. So, I think it was 2018. In 2018, Paige Patterson was there. He was still the president. And all of a sudden, the SWBTS, rather than saying all that big long stuff, the SWBTS gets a $5 million endowment.
Wow. I'm going to switch screens here as we're going down this rabbit hole here. And here in a second, we need to pause and announce our winner and also talk about the PDS. But let's move on for another minute and then we'll circle back. Okay.
So all of a sudden, there in 2018, there was a $5 million endowment that was made to, you know, SWBTS. And a short period of time after there, like I'm thinking this is just months from what I can realize, Paige Patterson was fired from over there. And there was the accusations specifically were misappropriation of confidential donor information, and that he undertook, the charges were, and that he undertook a scheme to contact seminary donors to divert donations and gifts away from the seminary. So Brad's mentor, you know, got dismissed from over there. He'd been there a pretty long time, I think, but he got dismissed from over there right at the time when there was a $5 million endowment put over there. And then, as the story goes, upon being fired, you know, he apparently went to whoever it was the $5 million donor, and he got the donor to revoke the donation to the Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary and had it moved to a personal nonprofit of his called the Sandy Creek Foundation.
Very interesting.
So,
and we're reporting off of wordandway.org. In case any of you want to go look this up, we'll probably share the link later. And we're about to tie this a little bit more into how this relates to First Bossier, the lawsuit, and all that. Okay, so moving on.
Yeah, and in the same year that all this took place in 2018, you know, apparently there was a $1 million home was purchased that's alleged that came from the $5 million gift, and you know, the foundation purchased it, as you can read right there. So how does all this apply to First Church and to Brad Jerkovich?
Right.
Well, interestingly, as it would turn out, in the same year that this $5 million and, you know, went to SWBTCS and then left it and went to the Sandy Creek Foundation, and in the same year that Paige Patterson was fired, and then he got the $5 million transferred or moved, or got the donor to revoke it and move it to his personal foundation, Sandy Creek Foundation. In that same year, guess who was named to the board of directors of the Sandy Creek Foundation?
Funny. we've got some red highlighting right there that about a sentence or two down says Brad Jerkovich, who is the spokesman for the Conservative Baptist Network. Oh, wait. And along with the three Pattersons, Coulter and the Pattersons' son-in-law. So they're all on the board of directors. So there's no denying they know each other.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's in dispute at all. And so, what is suggested, and we don't, I mean, I don't know, but what was suggested, and I guess it's kind of a question, and because here's the thing, nobody knows who the $5 million donor is.
Well, let me clarify that a little bit. Somebody has to know, because if I remember correctly in reading up on some of this, Patterson was able to reach out to the donor and somehow get the money reversed or whatever, and then moved over to his organization. So somebody's got to know who donated the money.
Well, I didn't say somebody didn't know. I'm
Right.
just saying that, well, maybe I did say that. I said nobody knows. I mean, nobody other than the primary people here know who it was that even donated the 5 million. But interestingly, all of this is happening at the same time. You now have these questions of transparency at First Church, and a questionable $5 million thing, solicitation of donors to the Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, and then money moved to the Sandy Creek Foundation, and then Brad all of a sudden named to the board of directors.
Well, and look, let me point this out. So this is what kind of stuck out to me when I was scanning through this, just skimming through it. It sounds somewhat similar when you read through some of this to what has been going on at First Church for the last several years, to some of the allegations in the lawsuit. So as an example, one of the claims against the Pattersons is that they took some artwork, antique firearms, and taxidermy from a collection donated to the cemetery and all that. And then, of course, apparently they denied it. But through pictures posted to social media, the seminary learned that at least one of the missing paintings is hanging in the Pattersons' new $1 million home. So it goes back to, in the suit and the allegations and some of the stuff about First Church with, Brad having a truck, wanting a new truck. So he sells that truck to his brother-in-law or whoever it was, gets him a new truck, but did all this without going through a committee or anything, just unilaterally did it. In other words, they sound kind of similar in the MO is what stuck out to me.
Yeah, no, definitely. It does. And so, and we're not just making that up. I mean, I think if you went to Projects Publica, and I don't want nobody to think that we're just making this up about the appointment to the board of directors.
Yeah, let me get over to that page real quick.
It may be better to go to that cut.
Okay.
That I have just after that.
Yeah, let's do that. I'll tell you what, and let me circle back. So let me discuss why the PDF was removed, and then we'll go to the cut and then the ProPublica article. So, all right, so folks, I'm gonna hit the rewind button for just a minute here. So the reason that the PDF was removed, and our friend Greg Bell did get it right in the comments. As a matter of fact, let me put up his comment here, another lengthy one, so it's going to kind of cover us up, but that's okay. He says he's all in. Let's jump on the bungee jumping. He says fees collected for recording, certified copies, and all services rendered in connection with civil and criminal proceedings are established by statute. All salaries and expenses of the office are paid out of fees that are collected, which make the clerk of court's office entirely self-supporting. And that is true. So the clerk of court's office, Jill Sessions, did reach out to me, and Jill's great person. We've always got along real well. So she did reach out, and she said, look, in full disclosure, she said, look, do you mind pulling that PDF link to the PDF down. She said, I understand it's a PDF people can print. And I said, yeah, it is. I said, it's public info. And I said, are you asking or telling me? She said, no, I'm just asking you because that's how we generate some of our revenue, is through those PDFs. Because look, folks, you can join the Clerk Connect and you can join monthly or yearly. I think it's what, 30, 35 bucks, something like that for a 30-day subscription. And you can go view all the records. You can even take screenshots of them. But if you want to do a nice PDF copy of how it actually looks or print it, then I think it's an extra 40 cents a page. Greg or anybody from the clerk's office, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's like 40 cents a page. So if we do a little quick calculating here, what was that petition? 23 pages or something?
23 pages.
Yeah. So 23 pages times 40 cents. That's $9.20 that the clerk of court's office misses out on just for pushing a few pixels to you. Now, I'm an IT guy. I understand that they have certain infrastructure in there, but those costs have gone down drastically in the last several years, depending on what storage provider they're using and all that. So they do have some expense, but that's $9.20. Now, that one post of ours on the Bossier Watch Facebook page has had a reach of over 5,200 people so far. Now, we can't assume that all of those people are from Bossier or Bossier Parish, and certainly not all of them are going to print out 23 pages just to read about First Church, but that is definitely a very, very popular post. So let's just say 5,000. Let's pretend like all 5,000 people are going to do it. So potentially, that will be $46,000 in lost revenue for the salaries and benefits and other things that the clerk's office needs to run on. So,
well, there you have it.
I just wanted to point that out. Now, it does bring up a good question. And look, I'm a capitalist, and if the clerk's office is self-supporting, more power to them. That does explain why the court fees are the way they are sometimes, but more power to them. And look, I appreciate Jill for calling and asking. She was very nice, very polite, and all that. And so I agreed, yeah, we'll go ahead and pull that one down.
Yeah, no problem there.
All
so
right. Back to First Church and back to this Patterson $5 million shenanigans or whatever went on.
So let's go to the Sandy Creek tax exemption cut.
All right, let me get over there. Give me just about 1 second here. Let's go to screenshot. This will take that away. I'm listening. Go ahead. I'm just talking to myself.
This was the 2018 filing, and this is just basically the tax exemption form. And the reason we're showing you this, and we're gonna scroll all the way down to the bottom of it and just show you the list of names on the board of directors, so that nobody can say we're just making this up.
Yeah, let me switch to the correct screen and we'll get this going up here. There we go.
Because it has been said that we were fake news at one time or another.
Oh yeah,
I've heard that somewhere.
We try to back up our rumors and innuendo with some sort of facts.
And you can also see that big gross number jumps out at you right there too.
Yeah, which
the 5 million.
Yeah, oh wow, there it is. Wow, so let me highlight that so the folks can kind of follow along here. Again, we realize that the font's a little small, but yeah, there we go. So they're end of year total assets 5.3 million, net assets almost 5.3, 5.295.
And some folks may say, well, they may do that every year. That may not be that big of a deal. No, they don't. And we can go back to that previous link that we didn't go to after this, and we can show you every single year prior to that where it was under 100,000. It wasn't that many digits. But on this document, scroll to almost the very end.
All right, so down to page 27, 28. Let's see. Let's get down there real quick. Okay, so I'm on the last page. So how far down close to the very end?
Well, go back till we can see the names.
Okay. Let's see. This is all the supplementals.
Keep going, keep going, keep
fair
going,
market
keep
value.
going.
Okay. Y'all
They're
don't,
in there.
yeah, y'all don't get too dizzy, folks. All right. So we're still down like page 18. Maybe I should
Well,
have started from the top and just scrolled down.
I said it was at the end. It's in there.
We're at the statement. Here we go.
Whoa, right there.
Yep, there we go. All right, so this is the compensation of officers, directors, etc.
So you see the chairman, Paige Patterson,
Right.
his wife, I'm assuming, vice chairman, Dorothy Patterson,
Mm-hmm.
and, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth name down, Brad Jerkovich, director.
Isn't that
Now,
interesting and coincidental?
yeah, so, I mean, you in the same year that you get this 5 million, all of a sudden Brad Jerkovich is in there as a director.
Right.
Now look, there's no proof that the 5 million or any of this money came from First Church. There's no proof. There's nothing there at all. But what is accurate is that, Southwest Baptist Theological Seminary got 5 million. I don't think it's in dispute that Paige Patterson had he was fired, and the reason that was given was that he went through their donors list and started, hustling their money, and they charge afterwards that he got the 5 million moved to his personal deal, Sandy Creek, and in that same time, Brad Jerkovich is put on here.
Well, and look,
So
hey, to Brad's credit, he didn't get paid any salary.
Yeah, but it seems awfully suspicious, don't you think?
A little odd.
So, I guess the question is this something that's being looked for? Is this what's being looked for? And is maybe this why we have litigation and to hide all the books and nobody getting an opportunity to see anything?
Well,
Is
look,
this why some things have gone to the extreme?
Well, look, it's $5 million. We're not talking $50 for a lunch that maybe he, shouldn't have had the church pay for. We're talking $5 million. That's enough money people would definitely be able to notice.
Well, the donation could have came from anywhere,
Right.
And this doesn't, this doesn't implicate Brad, and it doesn't say that there is any impropriety. But it is awfully suspicious that this Paige Patterson did get the money pulled from, SWBT. He got it pulled, and then conceivably, the way it appears, Brad went over there with this guy. So in our previous show, we talked about, that, and we were reading between the lines that there was this rift between, the Southern Baptist Convention and a new group trying to be formed, and is this it? Is this what we were talking about back then?
Very well could
I mean,
like you said, it's no smoking gun, very circumstantial, but it is what it is. And I would like to remind everybody, the reason that we are talking about First Church to this very day is because of the very close ties that First Church has in political circles. Very, very close. Not just some political folks or members of the church.
You're talking about federally elected officials, and you're talking about, in fact, people who are named in this petition were organized to run for Republican state central committee seats to get control or attempt to try to get control of politics in Louisiana and Bossier Parish. And some of those people, we've mentioned their names on this show regularly, but you don't hear any of them talking about any of this.
Right.
I mean, where are they at?
Yeah. They're sitting silently watching watching the drama unfold. Very interesting. Okay, Mr. Lowry, we have covered some interesting stuff, had a very interesting guest on with Representative Clay Higgins from District 3. We talked about noodling, of all things. I managed to squeeze some fishing in here. Bungee jumping off the Jimmie Davis. Now we have to do a fundraiser, start a business to get our bungee jumping. And we've highlighted some pretty interesting information about First Church again. I mean, that's a heck of a deal for everybody watching.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to just be waiting on pins and needles for the judge's ruling on the First Church issue, as well as we'll have to refine our ideas on the bungee jumping. And I got one for you. We've got to include reverse bungee jumping, and you can drive the boat.
Kind of like a slingshot. Pull it up tight and
Yeah.
then let go. Zing.
You can be in your bass boat, you know, and you'd be like you're skiing every time, but you know, a wakeboard or a tube or whatever, but it's a reverse bungee, and you take off with the boat and you like shoot them like a rubber band over the Jimmie Davis Bridge.
That would be awesome. I can think of some folks that I would like to do that to.
I nominate Tommy Chandler. I nominate Tommy Chandler to go first.
And as he's going over the bridge, he can wave down there because he was responsible for the linear park. That's awesomeness. That's awesome.
Then they can put his name on the park with a plaque.
Yeah, the Tommy Chandler Memorial Park.
Constructed by Manchac.
Oh wow!
Paid for by the citizens of Bossier.
I did want to bring up one quick comment as we're kind of wrapping it up. My mom, who watches the show fairly regularly, put a comment up, and I don't know if she's still watching. I did see it earlier, but she says, "Have you driven down Shady Grove Boulevard lately? The amount of new lights and new trees planted is unbelievable. What a waste of taxpayers' money. Shady Grove didn't need more trees. Who's going to maintain this? The city." Wow. Very good question there, Mom. And I have to say, I did just drive down Shady Grove Boulevard, as a matter of fact, yesterday. And I was wondering, I forget the name of those bushes that they planted. They're not really trees, but they're like the white ones that put white flowers everywhere.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the dingleberry bushes. But anyway, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, they're about the same thing. So, yeah, that's a good question, Mom. Who is going to clean up all that? And, you know, the folks that are going to have to clean up all those white flowers out of their yards. I don't know.
Well, that was one of Tommy Chandler's campaign things, was he was tired of the city looking trashy. He was going to get it cleaned up. But you drive down Benton Road, it looks like a big old ashtray down the middle of it. I mean, that idea went out the window, the same as getting an engineer.
Now,
who knew?
I'll say the new sidewalks so far, and those lights, and I think they're LED lights too, so, you know, they're environmentally friendly. Or eco-friendly, they do look nice. I'm not such a fan of the bushes, but I don't live down there, so I have to deal with it anyway. Oh, and I did want to mention another thing. You know, we clarified on this show that that's one lane on one side and one lane on the other side. And you know what was going on when I was driving in there and then driving back out? 4 lanes of traffic.
Yeah, people drag racing.
4 lanes of traffic. All right, with that.
Hey,
I don't know where else to go tonight.
I don't either. Have a good evening. If you got any tips, you got any hot scoop, you know, use a Proton Mail, create a Proton Mail account and send it to us. You know, we'll do some research, and if there's some shred of truth to it and we can back some of it up, we'll put it out there. I mean, there's a lot of people don't like us because we do exactly that. But hey, light is the best disinfectant, right, Rex?
Very well stated there, Mr. Lowry. And if you want to have bungee jumping or slingshot jumping, either way, good with us, and zip lining, go to BossierWatch.com or BossierWatch.org. Doesn't matter. Same thing. There's a donate button. You can donate a little coffee money. And now, zip lining, bungee jumping, and we're probably going to need a bigger boat. So, boat money now. There you go. All for the entertainment. Thanks to Lisa Friday Johnson and Tommy Chandler.
That you can noodle off of as well, too.
You could noodle off of it. So now we're going to have noodling as a sport. There we go. See, this just keeps growing and growing. And I do want to thank Lisa Friday Johnson for coming on and addressing our questions. Thank you very much for that, and we appreciate you watching the show.
And Lisa's got to put us with a big picture of us noodling and bungee jumping on the Chamber of Commerce book that they put out, their yearly book. That's what they got to do. They got to have Bossier watch noodling and bungee jumping.
Even better, we'll noodle a catfish and bungee jump with the catfish.
All right, we're losing all credibility.
We're done
now.
We're done for tonight. All right, folks, we appreciate y'all watching. Stay tuned.
Good night.